And we are back. Thank you so much for staying with us. And in case you're just joining us, welcome to Kenya's Gold. Now, part of what we do focus on here every single Tuesday is on maize farming. Now, remember, maize is a staple crop grown in Kenya. It's also a staple crop that is grown in Tanzania. We've learned that in the feature that we saw earlier from the agricultural showgrounds in Tanzania. And also, it might interest you to know that maize is also a staple crop that is grown in different parts of the United States of America. However, there is a difference. The maize that is grown in the United States is not primarily for human consumption. It's grown to feed the livestock. So we did find an expert who shed more light on maize or corn farming in the United States. Take a look at what we found in New York.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you so much for having us here in your corn farm at Heart's Delight. And maybe you can just start by introducing yourself and telling us the work you do here.
So my name is Laura Kleiber. I'm a soil scientist here at Miner Institute. And so a lot of my work is trying to figure out how we can grow our primary crops, such as corn, in a way that is going to be economical for the farmer, but in a way that is also environmentally responsible. So making sure that the water that is draining from our fields and ending up in nearby Lake Champlain is as clean as possible.
Right. So what are those practices that you are encouraging farmers to deploy that will protect the soil and protect the environment in general?
So one of the very first things is just testing our soil and knowing what's in our soil. By knowing what fertility levels we have, that can tell us then what practices we should look at. So do we need to apply manure at a higher rate if it's a lower fertility field? Do we need to maybe back off and apply a little bit less manure if it already has a lot of those nutrients that we're looking for?
Right.
And so trying to keep those crops growing with the nutrients that they need, but then also using practices like no tillage or cover crops, things that when we have row crops where we have bare soils, things that are going to help improve the quality of our soil and enable that soil to actually stay in place in the field so that it doesn't erode when we get large rainstorms or other runoff events.
Great. Please tell us, what is the current state of soils in New York State?
So the quality of our soils is actually quite high. That's largely because we have sort of the climate that will allow some of that, but also we have a lot of livestock farms. And so by having that connection between the land and our animals, we're taking the manure from our animals that could otherwise be a waste product, but in fact that's not a waste product. There's a lot of nutrients, organic matter, other lots of beneficial things in that manure that when we apply it to our fields, we're greatly improving the quality. So rather than using just commercial fertilizers, the manure that we apply back to our field is keeping our soils in really good condition.
Great. So what are the staple crops I'll find grown in New York?
So definitely corn, most of it for silage, though some you will also see harvested for grain. And then we have a variety of different grasses, cool season grasses generally, that are going to be mixed in usually with alfalfa. So alfalfa is a bit picky when it comes to growing conditions. It doesn't like to be too wet, and some other factors can make it a little bit tricky to grow. So depending on the field, we'll have a combination of grass and some amount of alfalfa, but alfalfa is a very high quality feed ingredient, so generally the more alfalfa we can grow in place of grass, the better.
Right. So besides the grass and the corn, do we have fruits? Do we have vegetables that we'll find here in New York?
We do have those types of farms in New York. A lot of our farms, though, nowadays are going to be specialized. So we are a specialized dairy facility. So we don't have any other crops other than what we're growing to feed our herd.
Right. Now, where we're standing, we have corn, and this is entirely for animals, not for human consumption, right?
Correct. Yep. Right. This is field corn, which will not taste nearly as good as the sweet corn that we would like to eat at our tables.
Great.
Yep.
So tell us the process of growing this field corn. Where do you get your seeds, and what time in the year do you do the planting?
Yes. So there's a few major seed companies in the United States. We don't always go to the same company. We'll switch around a bit in addition to doing some research on how well different corn varieties grow in our region. But basically sometime in May, usually we're looking to start working in our fields. Maybe a little bit earlier we can start driving in and doing a little bit of tillage if we're doing that, applying some manure that we've stored during the winter. But usually in May sometime, the earlier the better, we will come through and plant the corn. About 6 weeks later, we come through and add a little bit of extra nitrogen. We actually test the soil, and within a day or two get a result of how much nitrate is actually in the soil ready there for the crops. And so as soon as we get that information, if we know that there is a little bit extra that needs to be applied, then we'll go through the field, because at right about this time, when the corn is right about this tall, it's getting ready to have a growth spurt. Right. And so over the next month, this is going to go well above our heads.
How many weeks is this?
This is about 6 weeks.
So have you done the nitrogen test on this one?
Yes. Yep. Right. So all of these will have just gotten their what we call side dress nitrogen. So that in-season application that goes right next to the rows. Right. And so that allows that nitrogen to be there when the corn actually needs it. But we didn't apply it earlier in the spring when there was a good chance that our spring rains could just wash it out of the soils and into our surrounding water bodies, thereby paying for nitrogen that was never going to feed the crops and is only causing a problem. And so that side dress nitrogen in humid areas especially is an important practice, both economically and environmentally.
And that's done in 6 weeks.
Yep, roughly 6 weeks, or about when it's about this tall, or knee high, we say. At about knee high, that's when you could come through and apply that second dose of nitrogen. Right.
So at what point will it be ready for harvesting so that it can be, converted into silage?
Yeah, so in about another 2 months or so, this corn will be way over our head. Each of these stalks will have at least one ear. And so it's really paying attention to that corn ear as to when the plants will be ready to harvest. And so when the corn grains on that ear are dried down enough, that's when we know we can come through. The plant is going to be about 35% dry matter, meaning plant material, or 65% water. When it's ready to be harvested.
It's going to be at what percent dry matter?
35% dry matter.
And then 65%
water. So that means when we're harvesting the plant, only about a third of the weight that we're harvesting is actually plant matter. The rest is water.
Yes.
And so during that fermentation process, some of that water is going to leach out. But at about that 35% dry matter, we know the vegetative area of the plants are going to be digestible. The corn grains are going to be at their most digestible. And so it's really that target, that the dry matter of the plant is what we use as our way to target when the plant is actually ready to be harvested.
All right. Take us through the process of making our corn silage after we've harvested. What happens to it after that?
Yeah, so we harvested the corn from the field, which means we take almost the entire plant as it gets chopped in the fields, cut down, the stalk cut down, it goes through and is processed and cut up into finer pieces, more like maybe an inch-long piece of feed. And then at that point, all of that feed comes in from the field, and we stockpile it on the farm. So what we use are what we call horizontal concrete feed bunks. And so essentially what we do is we start to pile that corn silage that is coming in from the field. We drive over it with heavy equipment in order to pack it down, remove a lot of that oxygen, which is then going to allow the fermentation to take place. So fermentation is not going to occur if oxygen is present. And so what we need to do is physically compress that feed, and then that excludes the oxygen. We cover it with plastic to keep water and air out, and then we basically just let it sit for 30 to 60 days. And during that time, that feed will ferment, changing a little bit of the feed quality, but primarily staying just as nutritious, but in a form that is going to be stable, so that it can sit in storage on the farm until we're ready to feed it.
Right. So once the fermentation happens, what do you look out for in the feed to make sure that this is well fermented, it's now ready to be taken to the animals? Is there any physical attributes that the silage will have that will give you the heads up that, yeah, we're good?
Yep. So one of the first easiest ways is smell. And so a well-fermented silage is going to have a little bit of a sweet, sugary smell. And then if it's poorly fermented, it's just going to have more of a rotten smell. And so just smelling it is a good way to sort of tell what that initial quality is. But then we will always we test a lot of our feeds. So in order to know exactly what's in it, we'll take that feed, take a sample of it, send it to a lab, so that we're able to know exactly what the quality is of that feed, what the nutritional quality of that feed is, so that then we can create a well-balanced diet around that, around that homegrown forage.
All right. So now I want you to talk to us about the importance of corn silage to dairy cows. How does that help improve their milk quality and even quantity?
So corn silage is a very high energy feed, and so this is where basically they're getting a lot of their calories. So just like humans, if you're expending a lot of energy, you might need to eat a lot more carbohydrates to get some of those calories in. And so basically that's kind of what a cow is doing. She's producing a lot of milk, is putting that sort of a certain type of physical, biological stressor on her system in the same way that exercise would. And so corn silage is a way of feeding essentially that high energy feed that she needs. We also feed other things that are lower quality in terms of calories, in terms of energy content, but which do other things like just like humans need to have fiber in their diet. We'll add some straw or some haylage, which provides some of that roughage that you need in addition. So we kind of joke about the corn silage is almost sort of the candy, the sugar, the stuff that really gets them rolling. And, but we've got to make sure that we have enough of the other good stuff in there to keep their rumens nice and healthy. Right.
So after harvesting, do you plant the next set of corn immediately after, or you give it some time?
No. So here in New York, we have a very cold winter. So when we harvest in September or October, what we're trying to do on our corn fields is plant what we call a cover crop or a green manure crop. So that's coming in with something like winter rye, which is a grass that can grow relatively well in the fall cooler temperatures, and is winter hardy enough, winter stable enough to be able to last through the winter. And by doing that in a cornfield, we have a grass cover, which is then going to help, again, anchor the soil in place, keep nutrients in place by having that growing crop instead of just a bare soil over the winter, because we can't grow anything during our cold winters.
Right, and then now you'll regrow it in May. You'll come back to grow
and then in spring, we can either harvest that for some feed if we like, but what a lot of people do is just leave it in the field. Those nutrients return back to the soil. The grass decomposes back into the soil, and those nutrients are there for the next corn crop.
Right. So do you do irrigation here, or it's rain-fed agriculture?
All rain-fed.
All rain-fed.
Yep. We are starting to see some situations in the late summer where we get occasional droughts, but for the most part, the bigger challenge that we have is too much rain. Not necessarily in the summer, but in the spring and the fall. And so a lot of our water management is actually trying to figure out how to get rid of excess water rather than adding irrigation water.
Great. Now, for that farmer who wants to understand a proper difference between corn silage and hay silage, help them understand those two.
In the field, to start off, they are very different, where we see corn as a row crop here. Your haylage, which is, again, going to be generally a combination of alfalfa and some sort of cool season grass, we're going to have total ground coverage. So when we talk about the fields, that's an important factor. But then when it comes to the nutrition side of it, that's where, again, we're going to see less calories, less energy that can be supplied by that grass.
So this supplies more energy.
The corn supplies
silage.
More energy. Correct.
All right.
Yep.
Is it more economical for a farmer to have their own feeds, grow their own feeds, or it's a tricky situation there? It's
a bit of a tricky situation. Most of our farms do at least plant and harvest a lot of their own fields. One of the more common things is to have a custom manure applicator.
Right.
So there are some businesses where that is all they do. So some farms will do all of the planting and growing and chopping, but they won't actually handle any of their manure. And so there's some ways where you can essentially do it all. You can do some of it, or you could just essentially outsource that crop production side of it entirely. But most people do at least some of it on their own. Right.
In Kenya, there's some farmers who completely do not feed their dairy cows silage. Does that happen anywhere here?
I'm not sure, but I would say certainly in the northeastern United States where we are, it is by far the most common thing to be feeding a high forage component diet.
All right. Great. Thank you so much, Laura, for speaking to us. Maybe just parting shot of telling us why you really enjoy being in the agricultural space.
Yeah, well, I grew up being outside. I didn't grow up on a farm, but I grew up in nature. And so this job here is basically trying to figure out how we can continue to feed ourselves, but doing it in a way that is going to protect our natural resources, our soils, our local waterways. And so it's really sort of brings together a lot of things that I've cared about for my entire life.
All right. Thank you so much, Laura, for speaking to us and educating us so much on animal feeds here in your corn farm. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Great. And we are back. Thank you so much for staying with us. I know you're feeling some sort of a jet lag from today's program. We've traveled to the US, we've traveled to Tanzania. That's the thing about Kenya's Gold. There's nowhere we will not go to make sure that we are bringing you great agricultural stories. And on top of that, we also give you advice on what you need to do to make sure that you are growing as a farmer in whichever agri sector that you are in. Tip number one that we are giving you is make sure that you are part of a cooperative society. Join hands with other farmers, because when you are in your society, you stand a higher chance of getting financial support from various financial institutions like the cooperative bank. In case you're looking for different kind of loans that will help you advance your life as a farmer, the cooperative bank has different credit solutions that can take care of your different needs in the farm. Also, when you are in your society, you get professional agronomists that can come there and give you different advice on what you need to do to make sure that you're getting optimum yields from your crops, and at the same time you are protecting the environment. And also finally, remember, when you are in your society, inamaanisha mko wakulima wengi, meaning you aggregate more produce and your produce is of higher quality. That way you're able to supply to a bigger market and you have a higher negotiating power. Kama wanaitisha lori 10 ya viazi, ukiwa peke yako, it could be so hard to achieve that, but when you're many in your society, you're able to achieve that. Kwa hivyo mnaweza negotiate bei vile inafaa. So dear farmer, don't take all the load to yourself. Make sure that you are part of a society and enjoy the support that is being offered by the cooperative bank. And with that, now we have come to the end of the program, and as usual, we do have to sample some of your feedback to our farm joke question of today. And today we were asking you, I am the father of all fruits, what am I? So let's look at some of the answers that you've sent across the social media platforms. Which fruit is this that is the father of all fruits? Sylvester Nzomo amesema apple. Is it? Is it not? We'll find out. Benzi ___ Junior amesema smocha. Now, how is smocha a fruit surely? And then we have another one from technical _ professor amesema dates. Okay. And then we have Chepkirui Janet 34 says a fig. And then maybe our answer to our farm joke question, Papa, yeah, papaya, popo. That's the father of all fruits. You had to think in those lines. Unaitaje baba papa, so papaya. There you go. Remember, the rule of the farm joke is do not overthink. Thank you so much for watching our program today. It has been an absolute honor, as usual, being here with you, learning so much about all matters agriculture. We'll see you again tomorrow, and the agenda will be on dairy farming still in the United States of America. Until then, do have yourselves a fantastic evening. My name is Violeta Ngina, or the International Mkulima. Goodbye.